Okay, so besides the trench coat that I bought, these are the tools and supplies that I'm using for this project. I'm using, I got two of these. This is 1.5 inch by 4 yard light gray silver ribbon to go with the darker gray coat. I think it's actually supposed to be more of like a bluish gray, but I just couldn't find that, so I'm just going with normal grays. The coat is more of a bluish gray. I don't have the pins, so I'm going to be using bobby pins to hold fabric in place as I cut. Liquid stitch, because I do not want to sew. A nice light colored kind of lavender marker to mark the fabric, and scissors, and that's pretty much it. I'm probably going to use a little bit of paper to make templates out of, but otherwise that is what I'm using. So the first thing that I need to do is take off all of the buttons. I already took out the faux fur lining, and I'm actually going to use this in the collar. But first thing I got to do is just take off all of these little accessories that I'm not going to need. So the next step is going to be to trim and kind of change the angle of the bottom. I want to kind of keep as much length to it as I can, but I want to round it instead of having this sharp corner here, so that's the next step. So I totally forgot about getting pins for this part where I need to have the coat folded in half and line both sides of it up to make this cut. So I'm being creative and using bobby pins. Okay, so I took a marker and I did a kind of a template, created a template for myself. So I did a line of the angle that I'm going to want to cut, just so I have kind of a guide. a snag as I was cutting. I forgot about the zipper that held the lining in, so I gotta figure out how to deal with that now. Okay, I think I figured it out, so we're gonna keep going. Bottom rounded, but I realized that I really need to take this liner out in order for it to not be all janky, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. Okay, so the next thing that I did is the first next thing I did was I took out the lining, cut out the pocket flaps that were kind of hanging out. And now what I did is I actually put the coat on and figured out where the center of my arm was, because we want the center of my, like the pit of my elbow. And so I put a dot there, and then I folded this in half, because I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did with the bottom, and that is to draw a kind of a guideline to make this sleeve nice and open and kind of flowy, where it opens right at the crook of my arm. So it's coming together. I adjusted the shape a little bit at the bottom, and now I cut some holes with some trouble figuring out how I was going to do it. I was able to cut some slits. I kind of measured out where I wanted. I put the coat on, and with a marker I just kind of put a dot in the areas that I wanted the ribbon to crisscross in the front to tie. So I am just tying some ribbon through to see how that looks. So one other thing that I decided to do was to add, or rather add some ribbon to tighten the back so that it would be more fitted. Otherwise the shape was kind of blah. But it's coming along. I think next thing I'm going to do is try to add ribbon to the along the sides of the arms, because the sleeves are a little bit bulky on the sides, so I'm gonna do that next. Okay, so I just took the faux fur and some liquid stitch, and the little fuzz is kind of everywhere, so it's going to be a pain until it gets to the point where it stops doing that. But I basically just tried to cut. This one's kind of messier than this one turned out. But these are the lapels, because I wanted the lapel to have that fur look to it. So the liquid stitch, I just did a nice big drizzle all along the lapel, and then I stuck the fur lining to it, so we'll see how that holds up. And then next I'm going to do the collar the same way.